Good morning. Our guest today is Christina Kiening. As I've said before in other interviews, I followed Christina. She's kind of a hero of mine, and I know she kind of laughs at that, but it's true. We pick people that are going through similar circumstances. And with Christina, she'll tell you a little bit. She was so bad that I could relate to it because I was so bad. And I was like, is there any hope? And when I saw her getting better, I thought, she didn't get everything back, but she got a lot back. And when she did, I thought, well, there's hope that this disease will stop. I just wanted it to stop. I was so tired of every day waking up and it seemed like something new was happening, and you're just like, oh God, what next? All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to read a little medical disclaimer here. My wife told me here recently I should have this somewhere where it's easier to get to because I always fumble around. Anyway, here we go. The interview addresses multiple sclerosis and the treatment of it using the Coimbra protocol. We're not giving any medical advice for the treatment of your MS. Ways and methods of treating chronic autoimmune conditions, such as MS, vary from person to person and should be done by a licensed medical professional. We're sharing our own personal experiences, and this is for entertainment purposes only. Christina, thank you again for being with us. Good evening to you in Germany. Christina lives in Germany. They've made great strides with the protocol in Germany because of her work. And I look forward to hearing how things are transpiring in Germany. So take it away.
Okay, thanks for having me, John. Thanks for the great work you're doing because it's helping such a lot of people. Yeah, short introduction. So I'm an MS patient myself. I've had first flare-ups in the late 1990s, was first diagnosed in 2001. And I had a pretty bad onset. So I had flare-ups on the optic nerve in the beginning, but shortly after, I had a very, my whole left side of my body was kind of numb and I couldn't walk anymore. I couldn't control my facial muscles. So my colleagues thought I had a stroke and forced me to go to the neurologist. I was diagnosed then with the first few, what do you call it in English? The first signs, the first plaques in my brain. Lesions, thanks, that's the word I was looking for. So there were first lesions in my brain. And well, to be honest, I kind of just tried to ignore the illness in the beginning. And I didn't take any drugs because I was just too scared of the side effects. And what I did was turn my whole life around. So I did a lot in concerns of stress reduction. I changed my diet. I changed my job and everything. And I had some naturopath treatments like homeopathy and a lot of supplements. And I did quite well for about 10 years. But then I started seeing symptoms like cognitive decline. I was very sensitive to light, sound, couldn't cope with too much information anymore. And then the disease started getting really ugly around 2012. I had yearly flare-ups and they left symptoms, they left more and more disabilities. And then it got really bad 2014, 2015, where I had like 2 or 3 flare-ups per year. In the end, it was just not clear, did one end, did the new one start? And so at the age of, I think it was, I was turning 41 the year, I was severely disabled. I couldn't move half the side of my body. I had no control over my bladder or bowels, and my cognitive decline was rapid. So, and that was most horrible for me because I've worked, I've worked in economy. I've worked as a consultant, and yeah, I was in the height of my career, and besides I was a psychologist. I was working with people with psychological problems, and I couldn't do any of it anymore, and that was the worst part for me, to be honest.
I can relate to what she's saying here, and that when you're used to your mind being sharp, like I have an excellent memory. I can remember things, and people are just astounded that I can remember it, but I've always had a great memory. When I started my cognitive design or cognitive decline, I used to lay a credit card on my lap, and it was, say I was ordering off of Amazon, and I would pick up my credit card and I'd say the first four numbers out loud, 4455. And then I'd pick up the Amazon app and I'd go 44, and then I'd just stare at it.
Yeah.
And that drove me simply batty. Now today I can remember 16 numbers. I'm not going to quote them for you because all you people start using my credit card. But I have my credit card memorized now. Go ahead, Christina. I absolutely follow along with that.
Yeah, it's horrible because you lose yourself, you lose your personality and everything that you did in life. So it's no wonder that I was also very depressed by the time I was so ill, and so I had to stop working, and my neurologist, of course, advised that I take drugs, medical drugs like escalation therapy, do chemotherapy, do plasmapheresis. But I was so afraid of the side effects of those drugs, and something I not often share with people, but I've also been working for pharmaceutical companies for 2 years as a freelance consultant. And so let's say I know a lot how pharmaceutical companies work and act, and I didn't have much trust in the abilities of those medications to stop my MS. And in this phase, when I was so depressed and so really, just a shadow of myself at the beginning of 40, I stumbled upon a blog of a patient of Dr. Coimbra. And she wrote that about 80 or 90% of people being treated with this managed to totally stop the disease. So no flare-ups, no more symptoms, just a total stop.
Did you believe it?
No, of course not. Plus,
I was like, I like those numbers, but I don't believe it.
No, there's a saying in German, I don't know, I think it's the same in English. If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
Yes, we say that all the time.
Yeah, and that's what, so I just pushed it away, and I said, well, just another scam trying to make money with desperate people. But the funny thing is that I had a very, very good, prior to this, another doctor advised that I take higher doses of vitamin D because of a problem that I had with my teeth. And during this time, I saw that I felt better. So I had a very good, I once had a very good experience with vitamin D. And I think that's the reason why for a few days, vitamin D kept popping up in my head and in my dreams. And then I started researching. Yep. And then I started researching, and I saw that there was such a lot of research concerning vitamin D and the influence it's having on the immune system. And that is finally the reason why I contacted Dr. Coimbra. So I got his address from this girl that I contacted then. And he's such a not only a very, very intelligent person, but also a very humble man. Approachable, very human, very loving, kind, and a very impressive person. And so what he did, he said, if you have a doctor that is willing to treat you, I can send you all the information. I will give it to you for free, if only there's a chance that you have a doctor who's willing to help you. And so I was one of the first patients that was treated with the Coimbra protocol in Germany. It was spring of 2016, March. So it's been 7 years now. And a friend of mine was Dr. Kai Reichert, and he was willing to treat me. And within only 8 months, my MS really stopped. And this was kind of like, you know, of course, I was hoping that it would help, but it was like a miracle, because part of me was hoping, the other part was thinking, oh, don't have too much hope, because come on, this can't
You're
work.
like you're like this is working, but it's not going to keep on going.
No,
You
I
know?
still couldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
so my doctor sent me to have an MRI, because he said, well, let's see what the MRI says. And in fact, it was, yeah, we saw that it was stopped. My disease was stopped. And since then, I had a very, very good progress in terms of getting back lots of mobility, getting back lots of cognitive function. And I think it was for 1.5 or nearly 2 years that things were speedy recovery. You could, each week something was coming back. And
Yes.
that's what prompted me
All right,
to.
Christina, whenever we were talking about what you were at
Mhm.
whenever you got diagnosed.
Yes. In the beginning, I was diagnosed with RRMS. So the what's the English word for it?
Relapsing remitting.
Relapsing remitting. Thank you. So I was relapsing remitting for like 14, 15 years. By the time I started the Coimbra protocol, my neurologist was suggesting that I started to decline to the secondary progressive form with
Yes.
onset flares, which is kind of the worst form that you can have. And so this was one other reason why I wasn't sure if it would really help, and if it would help so good, and if it would be possible to get some function back. I think I was kind of lucky, because I had a very steep decline in the 2 years before I started the protocol. And as steep as the decline was, as steep was the recovery, because it was
Yes.
it's something we see in a lot of patients, that usually you can get back function that has not been lost for too long, like for a
Yes.
year or
Yes.
two. This is a typical period that things come back. There might also be a healing of older lesions or older symptoms, but this
Yes.
is, the older the symptom and the older the patient, the harder it gets to regain function. This is something we see,
Yes.
because of course it's easier to get function back when you are very young, because your body can heal better.
Exactly.
And the older you get and the older the symptom is, the harder it gets. But we've been doing this work now here in Germany for like 7 years. And I am working with a lot of doctors who are doing the Coimbra protocol. And we see that, in fact, there's like between 80 and 90% of the patients that have a total stop of the disease. And a lot of them get back some function too. So that's something we have proof of now, and we have data that has been analyzed. Because what I started doing then, after I got so much function back, and I always say I got my life back. I thought that it was the end, that I'll never start working again or do something. So it was kind of a miracle. And I dedicated my time and my energy then to help spread the Coimbra protocol, because that's how I got it. And I wanted to give back this gift that I got.
Yeah.
And so
I felt the same way.
yeah, and that's how the Coimbra protocol has been circling the earth, like from the beginning. Dr. Coimbra never did anything to spread the therapy a lot, because he has had a lot of political repressions, and it was hard for him. And so he
Yes.
said, I'll just
That
keep.
man has gone through a lot.
Yes, he has, and still is. And so he always said, it's a good treatment, and if it works the way I see it, then it will spread for itself. And that's what it did, because of people of you.
There's
And
something I want to touch on there.
mhm,
Christina had MS a long time. She had started progress, but her progression was relatively recent.
yeah,
Thankfully, she was able to recover some of that. I had a heat intolerance. My cognitive ability was gone. I was talking like I was drunk. And so I got back a lot too, but I didn't get back everything. And
Yes.
I know people that have had MS 31 years and they have gotten things back, and that the protocol has worked very well for them. But I also know people like myself that they got something back, but I can't walk. I still have some disabilities. But you know what, people? I'll take it, because if you've ever seen what MS does to people, it's a nasty, nasty disease.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying all this to say it doesn't matter where you're at. If you stop your disease, then you're never going to get worse. And that's what I always encourage people to do, is that whether you get back 2% or 95%, Dr. DeMoss says it's a victory, because you're taught in medical school, you get nothing back. Once
Yeah.
you lose a function, it's gone. And I'm here to tell you that I got back a lot of functions. Now, maybe I was in a wheelchair when I started, and I'm not running around now, but it's like I said, I'll take it any day. So Christina went down quickly, but like she said, her injuries in that area of her body were relatively recent. And we found that people that have recent dysfunctions or disabilities, that they can, this is what I tell you, it can come back. Will it come back? I can't predict that.
No, we can't. But with, as I said, it's a rule of thumb that usually with between 80 and 90%, we have data that the doctors analyzed. 80 to 90% have a stop of the disease. And,
Wow.
this was the only thing that I was hoping for.